Hey, how's it going, YouTube fam? This is ET in rural Fukuoka Prefecture. Thought I'd do a little car cast. So instead of just showing the road while I drive and saying nothing, I'm gonna give a little story. Do a little story here. Talk about my first day in Japan. First couple days in Japan. So the story starts out. I was living in Hawaii and went back to school to finish my bachelor's so I could actually teach in Japan easily without having to jump through any hurdles. And back then there wasn't much internet to kind of figure out that you could do it, without. I'm sure if I flew in to Tokyo and kind of looked around, asked some people, I probably could have figured it out. But anyways, I didn't. I did the quote-unquote right way. And got hired by Nova back in the day before they went bankrupt and were bought by another company. So I was living in Hawaii and I was like, okay, I'm getting ready to live in Japan for who knows how many years. And decided I should probably fly home to see my well, not home, I guess. Or I should probably fly. Yeah, I guess it was technically home. Fly home to see my folks and some of my friends from back in the day, from college days, I guess you could say. High school, more like high school. Right after college, before I figured out I wanted to go to college. And so I flew back there, hung out with the family, and then the night before I was leaving, my buddies took me out. I forgot where we went, but we ended up drinking a whole lot, and I didn't get home. We didn't stop drinking until like the sun came out. Hanging out, talking stories, shooting the shit, drinking. So got a little bit of sleep, maybe a couple hours, 2-3 hours max, before I had to get to the airport and fly. So parents took me to the airport. I woke up, I was fucking hung over. So that morning I was drinking anything that I could to try to rehydrate myself. The Gatorades, water, cola, anything to kind of try to get back those precious fluids. And aspirin, I took aspirin, all that shit. So I, got on the airplane and the flight attendant at the time, she's like, "Wow, you don't look very good." I said, "Oh, I don't feel very good. I'm hungover." I said, "Just you do me a favor and just keep bringing the water." So the whole flight from DC to, I think it's Dulles. I flew out of Dulles, I think, because I didn't really like. Even though National was closer and BWI was actually closer as well, Baltimore, Washington International. Dulles was in Virginia, and it was it was farther, but it was easier. It was a highway, and they had their own exit, so it was, no big deal to get in and out. Flew out of Dulles, went from DC to Detroit of all places. I guess Detroit was a pretty big hub for the airline I was on, which I forgot. Might have been Northwest or something, or United, or who knows. So got to Detroit and had a little layover, and started to feel a pinch better. still hanging and just plain tired. And it was a long enough layover that I couldn't really get any sleep. I had to get to the gate, but it was also long enough that it was irritating. So it was like, that one of those layovers there it's long but not long enough for you to actually do anything. And finally got on the plane heading toward Osaka, and the flight was like 9 hours or 10 hours or something. It was 4 full movies. Unbelievable. So I got on the plane. Once you get on the plane that leaves the U.S. to Japan, usually you have several American flight attendants, and the rest are just Japanese, because the majority of people who are going there are either Japanese speakers or businessmen who go back and forth to Japan. So but they, almost everyone there speaks both languages well enough. So again, I got on there and I just basically, the guy next to me, or the guy right in front of me, started drinking beer, and I'm just like, oh, I think I'm gonna throw up. I could just, any hint of the smell of beer or alcohol would have made me toss my cookies. So I leaned back as far as I could to get away from the smell, and I was hurting, like 3/4 of the flight. I kept drinking fluid, eating as much as I could, very little bits of everything. Finally, toward the end, after numerous gallons of fluids and aspirin and food, finally got to the point where I was, and a lot of sleeping, of course, coherent and functioning. And we landed in Osaka, and I was picked up, like the movies, with somebody with a sign that has your name on it. And it was myself and about 3 or 4 other people. So we had my plane landed, we had to wait for a couple other people, and then we headed off to the head offices, which were in downtown Osaka. Kind of close to America Village, I guess it's called. So, still not functioning on all cylinders. If I was an 8-cylinder, I was probably functioning on about 6, maybe 5 max. Greetings and talking along the way, and just doing my best to, to put on the right face. This is the first day working for a company, Just flew halfway across the freaking world. Trying to kind of set a good example of myself, not that I'm an idiot. But, so went there, did a whole bunch of paperwork first day, and then they set us up in our hotels. I stayed in a business hotel in America Muda. As soon as I got there, first thing I did was just grab some I think I grabbed a big 2-liter Coke and a big 2-liter of a Pocari Sweat or Aquarius, which I was familiar with because in Hawaii you get these things. So I just downed as much as I could and took some more aspirin and and slept for like 12 hours straight. So I didn't even know what time it was where I came from. I didn't know the time where I was. So the jet lag was not a problem. Just trying to get over this stupid hangover was the problem. And I woke up, I think it was like 4, 5, it was like sunrise. And people were still going home from the clubs that night. It was a Friday night. People were still going home for the clubs. So I was like, oh my God. I'm walking Osaka, I see, the drunk people still going home. They're the people cleaning out the clubs and stuff, the street vendors, cleaning up, whatever. It's just basically the morning cleanup after a big night out for most people. So I found a McDonald's, and I just needed a greasy ass egg McMuffin, and I was like, I really wanted a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, but they don't have biscuits in Japan, which I found out that day. It's like, I guess an egg McMuffin will do. So I had one of those, and I ordered like 2 extra hash browns because I knew I needed I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, greasy McDonald's breakfast is awesome when you're when you're not feeling very well, hungover, or trying to recuperate from a multi-day hangover. But anyway, so go to the office for 1 full day of training, and then that night, was it night? No, actually I had 1 more day. Full day of training and 1 more night in the hotel. And then in the morning, I had tickets to head to my station, which was in Okayama, which is not too far from Osaka on the bullet train. So it wasn't an hour or so, if I remember correctly. Maybe not an hour, like 30, 40 minutes. But getting from downtown Osaka to the Shinkansen stop and all that jazz, it ended up taking a couple hours. So got on the Shinkansen. Was it my first ride? Might have been my first ride on Shinkansen. I was like, oh, this is awesome, enjoying lots. Shinkansen has a lot of hold on a second, let me get my drink. It has a lot of leg room and plenty of room. Usually they're not packed unless it's a holiday season or something, when you get closer to Tokyo or something like that. But usually there's plenty of room. You can sit and have both seats on, and kind of take as much room as you want most of the time. There's not really that much that crowded all the time. So I went down there and I'm just enjoying myself. I'm like, okay, I got a couple of stops. Hit Okayama Station, got all my stuff out. I got a backpack and one of those big black duffel bag with wheels on the bottom, handle and duffel bag kind of dealies. Excuse me. What I realized after several years of traveling is if you're going to be traveling a lot, you should have really good luggage with nice wheels. So, I actually invested in a pretty decent set of luggage that had really good wheels. And later on, I probably would have converted it to a backpack, but if I did more traveling. But I ended up staying in Japan for so long that didn't really need suitcases at that point. Just would travel lightly with a backpack, small backpack. But anyways, I digress. So get to Okayama, get out of the Shinkansen, and kind of, there's two ways to get out, left and right, east and west, or north. I guess it would be east and west. Yeah, east and west. So I get out the wrong side, and it took me a while. I'm walking around, and I'm looking at this handmade map, which number one reason was, that's the number one problem. I should have set off a light. And you gotta remember, this is like August of 99, end of August of 99. So I'm coming to Japan, and I just had my first cell phone, and most people didn't have cell phones. And so when I got there, you know, I see everyone with cell phones, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. They're all small and way better, cooler than the ones we had in the U.S. And I'm like, you know, I'm a technology loving dude, so I'm like, oh, this is cool. But, you know, I'm like, I don't need a cell phone, because I'm remembering how much the cell phone bills were in the U.S. So, you know, I knew that there's pay phones, and you have to get phone cards and all that stuff. Like, nah, I got this map. I can figure this stuff out. Then I'm on the wrong side of the damn station, and walking back and forth. When I finally realized, oh, this is the wrong side, then I go up and ask the guy, you know, do you speak English? And in Japanese, I asked him. He's like, nope. And then no more extra Japanese or anything to ask, you know, can I help you? Just, no, I don't speak, sorry. And he's a JR staff, so I was a little bit irritated at that. I was like, oh, so much for the, you know, the rumored customer service. Rumored great customer service. I'm drinking a little 50-50 water, 50-50 Monster energy drink here. And I digress again. So, you know, I'm like, oh, shit, I can't figure out how to get to the other side of the station. And in hindsight, I should have just bought the cheapest ticket and walked straight through the middle of the damn station, like 100, 200 yen, and just, but I was a newbie. I didn't know what the heck to do. So I was like, I can find out. There's got to be a way to cross these stupid tracks. And it's a major, you know, pretty decent-sized train station, you know, in the middle of Japan. I guess it's technically Midwest Japan, if there is a Midwest. And I'm going back and forth, walk about a mile, quarter mile, half mile one way, half mile the other way, and I cannot find a way to go under or get over or just get on the other damn side of the station. I'm like, shit, getting irritated. So, and it's hot. It's August, you know, 100 degrees, 100% humidity, 30 something, 30, I guess 30, 34, probably 30 degrees Celsius. You know, like freaking hot. Japan summer hot and humid. And I'm dragging this stupid bag around. I got a backpack on. At least, luckily, I had an MD player with some decent music on, so I could entertain myself. Then I finally, after a while, just kind of looking dumbfounded, and looked to the left, and there was a little teeny arrow and a little picture that had there was an underground walkway, like around the corner of the station. I was like, oh, okay. So after, you know, an hour, or I don't know how long, it was freaking irritating. I was getting pissed off. I finally found the underground passage, and at least to the other side. Okay, cool, I'm on the right side. Then I start walking, trying to find out where this place was. And no, I'm like looking at the map, and it kind of starts to make sense. Like, okay, now I know where I'm at. And I'm walking and walking and walking. I'm like, wow, this is far. And I don't really want to get a taxi. I'm a newbie, so I don't really know how to ask where the hell I'm going. I just know I got this map, and I could kind of figure it out, and I got the address. And, you know, I knew the name of the place was Lion's Mansion and blah, blah, blah. So I'm walking and walking and walking. Finally, after, it seemed like an eternity, I get to the apartment, and I had the key, and nobody was home, everyone's working. So I walked in, and Japanese apartments don't have central air conditioning. They're individual units. And I didn't, you know, brand new to Japan, I didn't know how to work these stupid things. I just knew there was a remote control, and there was a big button on it, so I pushed it and it turned on. And I didn't know which room was mine. There's a couple, you know, I didn't want to trample on it, you know, get in anybody's way without, you know, introducing myself and all that stuff. So I got there, laid on the sofa right under the air conditioner, just crashed. And then finally, several hours later, I woke up. Get this little minuscule TV with, you know, no cable, no English programming. And, you know, I lived in Hawaii for several years before. And for a long time before. So, I studied 2 years of Japanese. I had a little idea what's going on TV, and, you know, watching little Japanese TV. And then somebody comes home, my first roommate comes home, introduces himself, and then shows me kind of like the layout of the apartment, and told me when the next person was coming home and who she was, and et cetera, et cetera. So finally got organized and situated, and then work. I got there on a Friday. No, it was Saturday morning, and then slept all day until I got home about midday. So I didn't have to actually go to work until Monday at 1:30, I believe, 1:20. So then, I'm nervous. First time teaching this training, gonna happen 3 days of training, and he gives me the rundown and shows me the books and all this stuff. So I had some money, and everyone, and it was a weekend, everyone was going out, so we went out and met all the people and had a really good time, and then rolled into spent a lot of freaking money the first weekend just partying, more than I should have, because I actually took the advance from the company. They kind of had this system back in the day where you take the advance, and then they progressively take it out of your pay for the next several months. They give you 100,000 yen, and they take 25,000, for 3 or 4 months, or whatever the amount was. So I had money, and then I got that the money from them as well, just in case, to cover my bases. But in hindsight, I wouldn't have taken it, because I actually could have made it. So enjoyed, and then find out what this supermarket was, and I was looking for a used bike place and got a used bicycle, because the guy, buddy of mine, who my old roommate, he's like, you got to get a bicycle. First thing I do is get a bicycle. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went and got a used bicycle, and then was talking to the guy there, had my little Japanese English dictionary, trying to get by as best as I could. And that funny thing was, that day I learned their word, which is why I'm kind of telling this story. I learned the word for plan or will, which is basically dictionary form of the verb, like to go is iku. So iku tsumori. What is your what's the plan, or iku tsumori? No, iku yote. I will go somewhere, or I plan to go, or I'm kind of almost like I'm going to. I will do something. I will go, or something like that. But anyways, he's like, in so many words, he's saying, oh, what's your plan? How long are you going to stay? I told him, I just got here. And he said, tsumori. I was like, oh, I don't know that word. I heard it, and I probably should know it. And so I looked it up and found that it was a plan, or, And from that day, I remember that word perfectly. I've never forgotten that word. And today we actually had a lesson, and they were teaching will. I will go. We were doing summer vacation plans. I will. And I had to write a natural story about using will as many times as I could. They were like, don't use going to, don't use anything else. Just try to use will for every sentence. Give me 4 things you want to do on summer vacation. So, I did that. I made it as natural sounding as possible. But when you use will back to back to back to back, it doesn't really sound too natural. And kind of a week before, the teacher asked me, the lesson was going to, was eating, was drinking, was whatever. And then one of the sentences said, they sat under the tree. And she's like, oh, why did they change here? Why was it was going, and then sat? And I was like, well, if you think about it, nobody says the same grammatical structure more than maybe 2 times in a row, and because it just sounds like sounds unnatural. And so I was explaining it to the teacher. She's like, that makes sense. And I was like, then I said, think about it. Would you use the same structure in Japanese? And I said it, in Japanese 4 times. And she said, oh, no. I was like, yeah. She's like, I was just wondering, was there a reason why they changed it? And I was like, well, it was already unnatural sounding, so I guess the author, or the person who wrote that passage, decided they'd have to at least change one of them to kind of sound semi decent. But yeah, that's so. The first day or 2 or so in Japan was interesting. Pre-internet, so I couldn't really do much research. So kind of like ending this little CarCast thing, I want to give you some advice to those who are getting ready to come here, or thinking about moving to a different place, you know, etc., etc. The usual stuff. Let me finish my drink real quick. So my advice is research. Research. I mean, the technology today is so crazy what you can get, especially on YouTube. There's Japanese vloggers, J-vloggers in every damn city, every damn little nook of the country, almost, just about. If not, there's a website and or some kind of information, or even a government website in English that you can find out. You can find out a lot. You can find out about the companies you're going to be working for, the good, the bad, the ugly. You can find out the areas you're going to be living in and kind of suss it out. And, you know, maybe even, you know, Google Street View. You can actually virtually walk down the damn street these days. So it's a lot easier than it used to be. So use the tools out there, yeah? Use them. Definitely use them. I mean, if I was going to, you know, say Brazil to teach English, it would be so easy to find a blogger or a YouTuber and just someone who's already either backpacked there or taught English there or went there to do jiu-jitsu or something. But, you know, that's just a generic example, but use the channels out there on YouTube, the web. You know, maybe you can communicate or email the person, and you know, if they're nice and, you know, you ask nicely, and they, you know, don't ask the same question that's been answered 100 freaking million times on video, then I'll probably answer it for you. I mean, if somebody asked me about Fukuoka, I'd answer it. If someone asked me, do I need to teach a degree to teach in Japan, I'd refer them to a video I made or a podcast I made, because you get sick of asking that question. But yeah, so basically, with so many channels out there of information and knowledge and communication and social networks, Twitter, Facebook, you know, Google Plus, you can get everything you need to know about the area, or majority of things you need to know about the area, and make your life a lot easier than it was for me when I first came, my first couple of days in Fukuoka. Not Fukuoka, in Japan, in Okayama. Osaka and Okayama. So, yep, I think that's enough, about 22-minute mark. It should be good enough to keep you guys occupied, but I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye-bye.